Holy crap, what a freaking game by the Green Bay Packers. They completely smacked the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee. I thought this game was going to be really close, but it really wasn't at all. There is definitely a lot of things we want to talk about today. Of course, the Packers beat the Titans 30-14 in Tennessee. I'm recording this on Monday morning because I was pretty busy yesterday. I was in Tampa at the Buccaneers game, and I didn't get home till late. But I was also waiting for the PFF grades, but they're still currently not out. So I'm just gonna push it on Monday morning. So yeah, now let's get into it. There's also a couple things I want to say real quick. In my prediction video on Friday, I predicted that the Packers will get 2 interceptions, and I got that one right. Will Levis threw 2 picks, and I also predicted the Packers would get a lot of sacks, and now they got a whole bunch of freaking sacks. So I do want to say a couple of those things real quick, and now let's officially get into it. We're going to start off on the Packers offensive side of the ball, and they had another masterclass here. Biggest thing is 0 turnovers, and Malik Willis was basically perfect. He went 13 for 19, 202 yards, a touchdown, and no interceptions again, of the quarterback rating of 92.9 and a passing rating of 120.9. And Malik Willis was basically perfect again. Last week we went 12 for 14, 122 yards, a touchdown, and all that crap. But this time he actually opened the passing game a lot more. He came out right out of the gate with the play action over to Jayden Reed for a 30-yard gain. He had a couple of deep balls with Christian Watson and a deep ball with Romeo again. Malik Willis was looking great again. He's not throwing a lot of crazy balls. There was no near close interceptions or anything like that. I do have to give the man props because he came into this Packers system literally a month ago from the Tennessee Titans. We traded with him for a 7th round pick, and now looking back at that trade, the Packers absolutely finessed the Titans. But like I was just saying, you got to give Malik props because he went 2-0. He barely knows the system, and we cannot be any more of a better predicament because, going into week 2, we were like, okay, how's Malik going to do? The Packers might lose Jordan Love for several weeks or a few weeks, whatever. And thankfully, it's only 2 weeks, and Jordan Love should be back against the Minnesota Vikings, which they are also 3-0, and that is going to be a crazy game. Probably the best game of the week right there. But again, I just want to say, Malik, thank you very much. You did very good. You definitely outperformed a lot of people's expectations of you, and you were just a complete baller these last couple weeks. No matter where your future goes, I don't know what's going to happen with you because, of course, you're the backup. I don't know if teams are going to want to trade for you now. I don't know what's going to happen in the offseason, whatever. But all I got to say is thank you very much, man. You did freaking great. Looking at the run game, Malik Willis was also leading rusher with 73 yards, which I think most of it was in the first quarter, and he also had a rushing touchdown. Josh Jacobs had a pretty slow day, ended up doing really good in the fourth quarter. But, we still had 188 rushing yards, which is absolutely insane. Against the Tennessee Titans defense coming into the week, they were ranked number 1 in the passing and rushing games, or rushing game per yards, per yards per carry, whatever. They were number 1 in both of those stat categories, and that is a really good game because freaking 188 yards is really good. Malik Willis had 202 passing yards. This offense was just freaking balling out all over the place. He did get sacked 3 times, and like I said, the run game was sort of kind of irrelevant besides Malik Willis in the first half. But other than that, like Josh Jacobs, he had a really slow start. The offensive line gave up a couple of sacks, but nothing too crazy. And like I said, I can't look at the PFF grades yet because they're now out. But, I think that the offensive line still did overall really good with the run game, at least on the outside edges, second half and all that, especially with Malik Willis trying to get around the outside. But Christian Watson had a nice little game too. I'm looking at the stats right here, 2 receptions for 67 yards. Emmanuel Wilson had that nice little screen pass that ended up being a 30-yard touchdown in the third quarter, I believe, or something like that. But this offense, they scored 30 points. The defense also scored a touchdown. So technically, we only scored 2 touchdowns offensively, but still going on the road against a really good Titans defense, who were ranked number 1 in overall passing yards and rushing defense. So, and then we put up a freaking 30 burger. Really impressive by this Packers offense. I cannot be any more happier. And 2 straight games with no turnovers with the backup quarterback is insane. And now moving over to the best side of the freaking ball right here, the defense. It felt good watching the Packers defense this game. Will Levis went 26 for 34, which actually isn't bad at all. 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions with a quarterback rating of 92.8. He did take 8 freaking sacks, which is insane. And like I was just saying a couple minutes ago, I predicted that the Packers would get at least a lot of sacks, maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5. But 8, holy crap. And there was also a couple of sacks that ended up being, reversed because of the freaking penalties on the Packers, which that's another thing to talk about. The penalties for the Packers, man. I just feel like every single game there's at least 10 plus, and it's mainly on the offensive line, and that definitely needs to be cleaned up. The one thing I was definitely wrong about this game was the rushing game for the Titans. They were non-existent. Tony Pollard had 6 attempts for 14 yards. Will Levis had 3 carries for 12. Tyjae Spears was basically irrelevant. The team only had 33 yards, and the Packers run defense has always been so bad. Even the first 2 games of the year, the last couple of years, the run defense always gives up at least 100 yards, and only 33 against a good running back room too. They're not no slouches whatsoever. I could not be any more proud of the Packers defense right there for sure. Now, of course, I got to talk about the Packers interceptions. Freaking 2 interceptions again. We have 8 interceptions this year in 3 games. I talked about last video. We already have 7 interceptions all year, and we already have 8 through 3 games. 10 total turnovers. Dude, Jeff Hafley is completely changed his defense, and I cannot be any more freaking happier, man. Jaire had that pick 6 in the late first quarter. Will Levis made a terrible decision. Xavier McKinney also had the interception in the fourth quarter, which was kind of like a throw up in the air. Like, I don't know what Will Levis was even doing. I know it was like late in the game. He's trying to make a freaking miracle or whatever. But Xavier McKinney picked that off. 3 straight games for Xavier McKinney of having an interception, which is a Packer record, I think it was. But dude, I cannot be any more happier at this defense. I think they have 10 total turnovers in 3 games, 2 fumbles and 8 interceptions. This defense is completely proving me wrong. I came into this year, of course, hoping that the Packers defense would be good, but again, the Packers defense usually ruins my dreams. And then these first 3 games, granted, we're 2-1. We technically could have beaten the Eagles. I've talked about that a couple of times already, but still, an L is an L. But this defense has been completely surprising me in every stat category besides the run game, because the run game's still a little but today was really good. I cannot be any more happier at this Packers team. I'm still super shocked at the fact that the Packers had 8 total sacks. Kingsley Enagbare had a sack and a half, Edgerrin Cooper a half sack, Preston and freaking Devontae Wyatt. I'm looking at my little screen right here, so I keep looking back and forth. But still, 2 sacks each for both of them, and I can't remember the last time the Packers had over 5 sacks, and we had 8 sacks today. I don't care what offensive line it is. I know the Tennessee Titans offensive line is not that good. They had a couple of players substitute because they were being so bad. But still, 8 sacks against anybody is absolutely insane. And now the Packers will be facing the Minnesota Vikings, who are 3-0. The biggest game of the year. Definitely the biggest game of the year so far. This is going to be a tough game. That's going to be later in the week, of game preview. There's a lot to really talk about in that game too. But that wraps up this video. The Packers are 2-1, baby. We could have been a lot worse. We could have absolutely been 0-3. But let me know your predictions down below of next week's game. Let me know your reactions of this game. And yeah, I'm out of here. Deuces.